Yeah, so hello, my name is Joachim Edel. I work for Frequentis, and today I'm going to talk about MCX technology, mission critical broadband communications. And one example that I will show is automated drone dispatching. So one short slide about us. Why are we focusing on MCX? Why are we focusing on drones? So Frequentis basically builds control centers for the safety critical markets. That means we build those big rooms with a lot of screens where people get some information, decide something, and people outside need these decisions to be communicated. And it doesn't matter if it's air traffic controllers and pilots, if it's, for example, joint command centers and soldiers, if it's public safety forces like fire brigade or police, or if it's the public transport sector or the maritime sector. It's always the same principle. You have a decision room in which the important decisions that lives depend on happen. So what includes this life or safety critical definition is it should never fail, it should always be very safe, reliable, and so on. And this is what we focus on. So if you think about now more in the companies on the more on the organizations here on the right, so police, public transport, maritime, how they communicate currently, it's mainly voice communications via radio, Tetra, for example, and other technologies. But if you have private contact with those people, you'll realize that they mostly use their private phones. They use the usual network to call people. They do not really use voice-only systems. And the reason for that is quite obvious. We came into a new time over the last years, or over the last decades. You want to exchange data. A fire brigade is somewhere, you have dangerous substances there, you need a PDF with information on those substances. You want to have a video communication to have a better overview on the site from the control room, or some other areas. Now you will say, okay, come on, that's WhatsApp. I just need WhatsApp. I can send data via WhatsApp, I can send video via WhatsApp, and in reality, they also use it a lot. Now the question is, why don't we use such a messenger service? Of course, data protection is a point, so we can say we use Signal or something. Why do we need more? Now, if you take a look at the safety critical market, it has definitely other drivers than we have in the commercial market. So in the commercial market, you are trying to access the millions, or you try to reach the millions of people. So where do you have best capacity? In the cities. In the cities, you always have your phone working. Once you go to a very rural area, if you go into the mountains, suddenly your phone might not work that well. While if you are a safety critical organization operating in that area, you want to have connection there, right? That's very important, otherwise the lives that are depending on you might have a problem. User-driven and geographic-driven is also what I said now. Another point is internet neutrality. So on the internet, we all have the same rights. In disasters, in catastrophes, in professional communications, you might have priorities. If one presses the push to talk button, the others should not be able to talk. Maybe some should define the video content the others can see. But also the groups that you create. You might have talk groups for a specific event that are going across the borders, for example, in a police chase or something like that. And these are the areas where you need special functionalities and special networks to make that possible. Now, as this is the 5G territory here, we are mainly talking about cellular networks. Yes, cellular networks are part of mission-critical broadband communications. You might not rely only on them, but if you use them, there is something called privileges and prioritization. So, as you know from using your phone, sometimes your internet is slower, faster, better, not so good, depending on the users around you, depending on the situation, and so on. So you can do different things within such a network to make sure that you have priority. So to make it a bit easier than on this slide, to make it a little bit better understandable, we have these pictures here where you say this would be now normal operation, so everybody has the same rights, let's say it like that. But for example, if you have now a terrorist attack somewhere, or you have a major event, a major disaster, something like that, you might want to prioritize some of the users to have better abilities to communicate than others, because you just have an overall capacity, and the question is who gets how much of this capacity. And there is also the possibility of slicing, so this would be now a continuous prioritization of a user. Now, having that said, as a little bit of basics of what MCX is. So MCX, MC stands for mission critical, X could be any service, mission, so could be voice, could be data, could be video. And the idea behind that is there is a common standard currently under development, or it's actually ready for internationalization. Many big companies worked on that. It's from 3GPP. And currently there are many European projects, for example, Broadway, where there are international tests how to transition from these voice-only communications in safety-critical communications to a broader environment. So last slide in theory, then we go into the more interesting practice part. If you talk about MCX, there are some differences to purely commercial LTE and 5G networks. Number one is you want to have a better understanding of the network coverage also in rural areas, not a better understanding, sorry, but a better coverage, right? You might have more, let's say, cybersecurity and other security aspects that you want to have, and the prioritization that some might be more important than others. These are examples where we have differences to the purely commercial networks that we know. Now let's get to an example. One example that you can do is now if you have a mission-critical data network and you think about police operations or fire brigade operations and you do not communicate in voice only anymore, but also in video and in data, the integration of unmanned units like robot dogs or robot drones or other things can really assist you. You also have, for example, body cams that can be transmitted live into the control center. All these things in a mission-critical network have a huge potential. And to make that easier to understand, we made a video on that, and after that I will explain a few things about it.
When seconds count, every piece of information can be crucial to save lives. At Frequentis, we are dedicated to providing better informed, faster and more efficient emergency response to the general public with our smart communication and collaboration tools. Guaranteed broadband communications between all involved stakeholders, exchange of audio, video and data without delay. Shared incident management and integrated documentation are technologies making missions more effective, efficient and safe. Mission-critical broadband communications also pave the way for extensive use of unmanned units in emergency responses. Being connected to other agencies, such as air traffic control, enables safe and wide-ranging use of drones as first responders. Giving arriving units initial overview of the situation or even help on site.
Help is coming now. Can you tell us what happened?
The combination of differently specialized unmanned units allows a broad, long-time or specialized observation or assistance on site. The use of such technologies may not only decide the fate of victims, but also improve safety for first responders. Broadband communication systems are to support mission-critical operations. They have to be resilient, secure, reliable, and performant. These kinds of communication technologies must not fail at any time. They are needed the most when conditions are the worst. To turn this vision into reality, Frequentis created Mission X. We are combining technologies from different segments into a mission-critical broadband network to allow safe and reliable communications where it matters. All this while providing comprehensive multimedia legal recording. Efficient multimedia handling with Mission X makes incident teams better informed, faster, and safer.
Now I think that makes it quite obvious why mission-critical communications cannot be the very, very same like a commercial LTE or 5G network. But you can see the potential, and if you know a little bit how these public safety organizations are currently working, you see that there are some future potentials in that technology. And there are currently quite large demonstration projects ongoing in Europe from different companies and different consortia on that technology. Now, public safety is one thing. We also have another area where we work on that, which is public transport. So currently with the Austrian railway organization, we are building such drone hangars along the track. And what is the basic principle of it? Up to now, the Austrian railway were already using lots of drones, but usually they have the drone in the car, they go to the site with some pilots and they fly something there. It's a quite manual process, even if it's a beyond visual line of sight flight. We built now the system that actually you can sit on any working space, on any office desk in Austria or even outside Austria. And we built a network for these drones or a environment for these drones that you can operate the drone anywhere. So I could sit now on my laptop and start the drone in Lower Austria, Upper Austria, wherever I want to do some rail checks. Now the idea behind that is that rail tracks are usually a large infrastructure, so many thousands of kilometers in every country, and it needs a lot of resources to inspect them and to see the vegetation and maybe some disaster management if you are in an alpine area and so on, but also in train operations like shunting. And yeah, we did this project, and now the most challenging thing for us was there is no such permission yet in Europe. We know about drone hangar projects in Europe. I saw before the video from Nokia, so Nokia is doing that in Belgium, for example, but they are mainly based on authority projects, which means police, in other cases military, where you have national regulatives, but within the drone area there is now a European regulative where all the commercial applications have to apply to, which is the 947 regulation. And we don't know currently any project in Europe where you have longer rail tracks where you fly through cities, over major roads and so on, while you are not close to the drone. You are hundreds of kilometers away. And we are very happy that we obtained this flight approval, but why did we obtain it? A big part was mission-critical communication. You have to ensure that if you start the drone, which is by law an aircraft, somewhere, you have to ensure that you don't lose it, that you are always with the aircraft, what happens if you lose the connection and so on. So this was quite in the beginning it was a drone project. It turned out more to be a mission-critical broadband communications project in the end, right? ÖBB is now weekly flying above their tracks, and they try out different use cases on that. Now, talking about the use cases, so here you see, for example, for one of the areas, the 5G covered area would be the red one. Now, the interesting thing is, if you document lots of data with a drone, nobody wants to watch this data. You have hours of track videos, so you start to need AI to analyze that, right? Now the funny thing about drones is they need to be very light because they fly. So you don't want to have too much weight on the drone, which means if you fly around with a drone and you use a lot of AI, you would need a lot of electronics to do that. And this does not work out, obviously. So we started to work on code offloading. And this is really something which only works with 5G. So all the video transmission and control, 4G would be enough. But if you start to do code offloading, so have the sensor data and in almost real time get the AI results for what you do to get a kind of action or decision, this is something where these networks are also quite interesting to put it into context of this conference. Yeah, we had AI in the previous session, so I decided to let this one in. So 1 year ago when we started the project, we asked ChatGPT what can we do with drones in the rail area. We asked that 2 days after we did a 1-day workshop, and it was the same result, basically, what we worked 1 day for. So because we had previously here the discussion, is AI replacing us? I think it is. Partly. Now, to close this topic, what is the future vision, or where do we think will this drone hangar and MCX combination lead to? So we see a network of drone hangars, different operators, different users, and so on. And obviously a big mission critical network that can enable to work there. Yeah, and I think this is maybe the point where I would close the presentation and take a look at the time. I think we have time for 1 or 2 questions.
Oh, yes, we do. Yes, but first.
Thank you.
You were saying also you were using ChatGPT to ask about some perspectives on what it does for you, what these solutions do for you, but you were like back-checking every single time. Will there be a point where we will be able to use AI for the business or for business purposes of your particular product, where you can trust it straight away, no back-checking, no checking against the other experts?
That depends on the AI technology. There is something called logic and knowledge-based AI. It does not work only on a neuronal network. It works based on logic commands and a kind of rule network that is quite complicated to set up. This is an AI I would trust. Self-learning AIs, like machine learning and other mechanisms, are something where, at least in the safety critical area, you will always have to back-check.
So actually, preset mechanisms still are more trustworthy than the ones which are like kind of free-floating in the data and information sources.
I would say so. It depends on the branch you're working in. But if you work in the aviation branch or in the public safety branch, they are of course quite conservative on these topics, right? So you do not have a kind of acceptance if you say 99.7% are right. That's not enough to trust. So it always depends on the field you're working in. But I think for our field, you need a very, very, very reliable AI to work with it. And we already do it. So it works for us in certain contexts, but not as broad as for others maybe, right?
On the same stage here, like a month ago, there was Aviation Forum also. And then the most important questions always was on VTOL and eVTOL regulations. So how things are there, if we talk about all the Europe?
Mm-hmm. There is a general set of rules that is valid for all European countries. I wouldn't say that there are much documents yet for air taxis and these bigger drones, but I think for the smaller drones, as you saw with our project, and there are lots of others as well, there is quite a good rule set now to do certain things with drones. For sure, what's not possible is to fly across all the cities as you want, so this is not possible. We don't have a rule set for that yet. But for many specific use cases, I think we have already quite a good rule set.
So it means you have already certain routes you're using in certain cities, because there are some places.
No, they are not fixed, so you have to declare the routes you're flying and you have to convince the authority that they are safe. But with the current technologies and with some tricks how you do your missions, you can already do quite a lot, I would say. So we are flying through cities and we have the permit for that.
How much time does it take?
How much?
How much time does it take to negotiate?
So for us it was around about 6 to 7 months to get this permit, but this permit is now valid for years. So Well, the trick is we are flying above rail tracks and nobody's allowed to enter rail tracks. So that's maybe one trick why you can fly through a city. You won't get the same permit if you want to do that above a shopping center, obviously.
All right, so let's see, do we have any extra questions? Yes, we do. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.